Hey, and welcome back to another Revit video. And in this video, we're going to look at modeling stairs, a real basic overview. This is going to be one of many videos I end up doing on stairs because there's quite a lot to them, let's be honest. I will say I did an intro to stairs already, so definitely go check that out first. It will give you more or less an intro to stairs, if you will, to give you a little bit more of an introduction and an idea of what we're going to cover here. Not so much more because I don't want to overwhelm you with all that we can do with stairs. We will have more videos for that. So at any rate, if at any point in this video you happen to learn something, which I hope you do, please demolish that like button. It really helps me out a lot. Also, consider hitting that subscribe button as well if you enjoy this kind of content. Okay, getting into it now. Obviously, we want to look at stairs. We have gone through all of the basic introduction of stairs, but here's a few things that we want to look at before we start drawing stairs. And again, we're just modeling stairs on a basic level. We want to first set the base level and the top level. And in this rate, it's just level 1, level 2. By default, that's perfect. That's probably what I need. So with that, I can simply just click and start going. I can do what I want to do. So if that's the case, then just know whenever I click first, I will start the run and I'll be on level 1. We can see here at the very bottom where it says click to enter run start point, which is a weird wording, but nonetheless, that's what will happen. A couple of other things that we want to take into account before that is, do we want the location line, basically where we draw the stair, to be the default run center? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I personally like to have that exterior support right or left, does not matter. And that's highly dependent on which way you're drawing the stair, if it's a switchback or whatever it might be. So let's say we're going to draw a basic switchback stair. That's very simple. So I probably want to have that support at the right. So what I'm going to do here is simply just zoom in here, and I can see how many risers I have remaining. Now, I don't want to have, maybe I want to have multiple runs, maybe I don't. In this case, let's go ahead and split this in half to where I've got 9 here. And so whenever I do that, the nice thing about this is that you can start to see I have some alignments that Revit automatically gives me, and that's going to be based on these different riser lines. And with this, I can easily and pretty quickly align this together. And so maybe I do want to start this exactly parallel. Now, because my actual run width is set to 3 feet and my automatic landing is set, as soon as I click, I'm going to get a landing that shows up. And then I'm going to start from that point being the exterior support right, in this case up here. Because of that, I'm going to actually start drawing immediately. And so I want to make sure I'm further up here because I'm going to draw from that exterior line. And I know that my run width's at 3 feet. I can change that to something else later if I want, but we can deal with that. So I can click this and I know I'm aligned to this first riser, which is great. So clicking that, and as soon as I start moving, I get everything else I need to see. And so what I ultimately get is that I can finish the stair by dragging. You can see I have 0 risers remaining, and I can click that and I'm done. And I automatically get my landing that is going to keep my consistent width. And so where is that, and what is that measured from? Well, I have my exterior point there, exterior point, that's 3, 4. So just know that by default, the supports are going to be 2 inches each, 2 inches. And then there's my run width, which is 3 feet, and then another 2 inches for my support. Obviously, we don't want this at 1/8. Let's go ahead and put this at 1/2 so we can read this. So there we go. We've got a basic 2-inch support. That's more or less what you would expect to see most of the time. If it's just a basic egress stair, you've got a 3-foot run width and then my support again. Now I can click any one of these at any time and I can change this actual run width right here to maybe 4, whatever it might be. And that's it's again going to change based on this point I've chosen, which is that exterior point. Great. And so with that, I have my stair done. And just to confirm that my landing is the exact same width, let's go ahead and dimension that. So my run width here and there is the same 3 feet that I would expect. Now, if I, for some reason, decide, I actually need 4 feet, and in most cases, you probably will. If I need 4 feet, yeah, the things will change here. But what ultimately will happen is that this will not change, which is unfortunate. And so what I can do is, of course, I can click this, and I have the option of dragging this if I want to. I don't like that just because it's not precise. I can draw a reference line. I can do all that kind of stuff, but I can always click on the landing. I can even extend it this way, which is very interesting. Really easy if you have another condition you need to meet up with. That would happen that way. But what I can do is that, of course, I can click here. I can actually just set my dimension here, which is great, and that's going to be 4, and it will grow to what I need it to be. Now, something else I really enjoy doing and enjoy having the ability to do is I'm just going to leave this stair. We'll finish this, and we'll go ahead and draw another one. So obviously what we get is basically everything that we need here for a switchback stair. Here's my bottom where it will say up, and the arrow will travel up all the way around to the top. So this is by no means to code. We'll cover that in a future video. But let's go ahead and draw another stair. So looking at stair here, I'm going to keep my same level 1 to level 2. But now we're going to come down here, and maybe I draw a few more. Let's go ahead and draw 12. And so I have 6 remaining. And so if we want to get weird or kind of fancy with things, again, I'm drawing from the exterior right. Maybe now I want to do the opposite. I want to draw from the support left. And because I know I want to draw somewhere over here, basically I want a landing that's kind of angled and in between. So I can draw here, and you can see what Revit does, which is great. It does this automatically. I don't want this to be exactly 90 degrees, but don't worry, we can change this. So I'm just going to draw this at a random angle. Obviously this is awful, but maybe I want this at 45 degrees. So there's a number of things that we can do here. Obviously I can actually just literally rotate this, which will give me everything that I need. But what I ultimately want to do is make sure that get my true 45 degrees. If you need any sort of basic rotation, what I do a lot of times is if I need to get a specific angle and I'm not getting all these dimensions that I need, like here we can see my run dimension, I don't have any angles or anything like that. I like to simply draw a line, which is very simple, at the angle that I want, and there's my 45 degrees. And then all I simply need to do is rotate. I can move this point to right there, take this run right there and move it, boom. And so there's my 45 degrees, and I can check that a number of ways. Obviously I can dimension some angular dimensions here. There's my 135, 45, there it is nonetheless. And then I like to get rid of these lines. This is just a real quick thing to do. We can get rid of it later. So with that said, I now have this 45, and then the cool thing is I can simply move this around, and Revit will respond with this landing, which is great. Now let's say this happens. Let's say I decide where I want it, and for some reason this landing is just, it's gone, and it's just totally gone. Obviously I have no landing. This will not work. What am I supposed to do? Well, there's a great way to get this back, and there might be a number of times where you end up moving a stair run into a certain place and it literally breaks the landing, and it won't even draw the landing for you. Obviously whenever we drew this we actually chose the automatic landing, so it made it for us. So we have one more option here under run, which is actually the landing, and I can literally make a landing. So the only way, and really the only time I like using this landing tool is exactly for something like this, where I lose my landing. And all it's asking me to do is, if we look here at the bottom, it is simply asking me to pick the first run. And that's very easy to do because that's the first thing I need to do. So let's click that first run, and there's my first run. And then it says click the second run. Well, let's click that second run, and boom, we literally get the perfect landing right back as if it were just there. And just like before, if I were to drag this around, it's going to respond exactly. So it's basically the exact same landing I had or would have in that case, which is really great. And so there's a lot of times where, let's say I delete this and I don't need my landing, and let's say I'm really not done drawing the stair. I haven't finished getting up to level 2. And we can see that we haven't gotten up to level 2 because we see the desired number of risers. In this case, it's just responding to the difference between the base and the top offset, and then the actual number, which is actually 12. It's not 18. So I need that 6 more. So like I said before, if I come back into here and I need to actually finish modeling my stair, I can simply add my second run wherever I want, if it's way over here. And the cool thing is it's going to automatically add that landing for me. I can even uncheck that so it just doesn't, and then simply use the landing tool to click the first and then the second, and it will do it for me. So that's really great. So really good stuff. And so let's say we get to this point and realize, don't like this. This is not really working well for me. I want to get this back to 90 degrees. I really don't want to deal with all the angles and everything. Well, it's simply rotating this here, and then we get this. And I don't necessarily like this, but I can always move this back. And then this might be a great place to where I don't want to deal with this landing like this, so I'm going to simply delete this and draw my landing once again, and it's going to square it up and look much nicer, like I would expect. Here's another thing. I'm not going to go through this in depth right now. This is more so railings, and I'm going to save a separate video for railings on stairs because that can get very complicated. But something that we like to do a lot is, and this is true not just because of the way Revit presents stair railings, but because of how they're manufactured and the way they look and how smooth the connections end up being, we'll end up offsetting one of the treads from one side of the run to the other so that the handrail or even guardrail can smooth out, can have more smooth transition, so it doesn't have these awkward vertical jumps or anything like that, and so it can stay consistent. And so with this, I basically have my runs lining up right here. My landing is a consistent width. This is totally fine. This works, but the way the handrail is, it will not necessarily turn corners. Let's say this is much closer. We've got just a few inches here. If this is the case, the handrail turning the corners can be more difficult and not smooth. We'll have these vertical raises as we have the handrail make that U-turn essentially. So to avoid this, we can offset one of these treads one tread length, so it has some time. It gives the handrail some time to make that transition. And so how would we do that easily? Well, we can simply align this. I can take this second riser line and align it with the first there, and that simply moves everything up one riser line. So you can imagine the handrail coming up, turning the corner, and having time to literally transition into the next run, which is fantastic. And so at this point, we have our stairs done. Cool. Let's hit that green check mark, and we're done. It put our railings in automatically. We're going to draw one more stair, but first what I want to do is make some more levels. This type of thing may or may not be in your project, but nonetheless, I want to have the option to do something like this. So if I change level 3, maybe we want this at 30 feet. And then maybe I want level 2. Let's say you're doing an office and you have like 2 levels of garage next to office. And so you have these egress stairs that are going from the second level of the office, which is technically, because of the way the lobby hits the garage, it might be 21 feet, which is like 2 levels of garage. Well, if I have this at 21 feet, obviously it's going to change my stairs a bit. And I want to show you what happened. First, I want to show you what happened to those stairs, but then I want to show you how we can model something like this. Okay, so coming back to my level 1, I can see if I go to the first stair and we edit this stair, we can see, okay, I need 36, and then I currently have 18. So basically what this is saying is I need to continue my run, and I can do this 2 ways. I can literally go to the run and choose my straight run and then just start drawing again, and it will pick that up, and I'll have to add a landing from here to here, and it'll work. It looks awful because of where I place this run, but I could also do it another way. We could also take this and we can literally just drag this current run all the way up, and you can see as I drag and hold, you can see that it's going to tell me essentially where the top of that I need to get to, like the point that I need to get to, which is level 2 in this case. So I can drag this all the way up, and there we go, which is fantastic. That gives me what I want. And if I look over here, I can see the desired number of risers is 36, and my actual is 36, and my actual riser height is 7 inches, and actual tread depth is 11. Obviously, that hasn't changed, but the 7 inches is what I'm shooting for based on this type of stair. We haven't really talked about the type of stairs. These are just the default types of stairs in your project. They will all perform the same when it comes to modeling, but just know that they may not, and perhaps they do, have the exact same dimensions that they use by default, but you can always come in here and change those dimensions. So I'm going to say this again, we're going to save another video for looking at the instance and type parameters of stairs, because there's a lot that can go into what you can edit, what you should edit, and basically the ramifications of changing some things. And so if I click on this, we can obviously see that I've hit everything that I need to. Now, if I can always drag this farther, but that's not necessarily great. Something I do want to point out, and that's because my scale is so high, I'm going to put this at 1/4, I can see the number of treads or number of risers. And you can see here, I have 1, basically this is the first one, all the way up to 9 and 10, so this is 1 and 2, and then all the way up to 36. And you could remember over here, my desired number does happen to be 36. That is exactly what I want. And there's my 36. Now, if I keep dragging this, I'm going to get 36 plus 1. And what is that telling me? Well, that's telling me that I've hit my 36, which is actually at the point where the top level is set to, in this case, level 2. And I've gone beyond that. And so it's adding an extra riser. So it's nice because I can always, if you see this in a stair, just know that it's shooting past the level that you have intended for the stair to hit. And that is just based on the top level, of course. Now I can always change this if I decide, okay, maybe I want literally a 7-inch offset. So I want this to end 7 inches higher. And by doing that, my result will be that I want 37 in this case. And obviously if I drag this again farther, what I get is the 37 plus 1. So all of that is fine. Just know that. Something else I can do, if you see here, is I have this separate line to drag, and this is basically a shape handle. So whenever I push and pull this, just know these numbers aren't going to change, but I want you to watch what's happening to the rest of the stair. So I'm going to pull this to the right. I'm going to pull this a number, and you can see, look, even before I let go, it's basically taking treads that I have at the top run and putting it to the bottom. So basically, you're deciding how many you want on top or the bottom, which is a great way of being able to decide it really quickly, because maybe if you didn't have that, for instance, what I'd have to do is literally delete this whole run and then drag however many treads that I would want to have for the first run back, and then redraw the second one. For this, I can just simply drag and literally even it out, get exactly as many, like literally like that. That's perfect. That's exactly what I might want. And obviously we can go one way or the other and we get the same result. So really interesting, really quick and really easy to do that. And I also have these shape handles here that correspond to my actual run width. And so I can drag this out, and that's going to increase my actual run width. Now that's ridiculous. And just note, of course, again, that it does not respond. The automatic landing will stay, but does not respond to your actual run width change, and you have to change that manually. Okay, so cool. With that said, what I want to do at this point is draw the next level on top. So maybe we finish the stair, and I come over to level 2. And we can see, okay, yeah, I've got these stairs here, and what I want to do is take this level 2 stair and then maybe take that up to level 3. And so where would we do that? Well, in this case, I don't have any floors. I'm not trying to draw floors or do anything like that. But I can go back to stair, and because I'm on level 2, I'm going to get this level 2, and my top offset will be level 3 by default. Cool. That's easy. And so maybe we just want to draw on top of this stair again. We can simply use this exterior support left, like this exact location, to start drawing the stair. And we can see I actually don't need as many, of course, because I'm going up only 9 feet. In this case, I have 15 or 16 risers that I need to draw. And so let's go ahead and draw a few here. And so whenever I get to this point, I've got my 8. And then, of course, if I want to draw from the exact same point again, I can do that. Pull this all the way back and see, look, there are my other 8, so my 16. So great. Now, obviously, I do not have, not matching my run width, so I can simply click these and then change this to 4 feet. And because I drew from that left exterior support, it grew outwards. So really good to know. And obviously I have my shape handles again if I need to push or pull those and change the number of risers on one side or the other. I also, of course, have my automatic landing, which didn't show up because I didn't have it checked. So I can simply draw a landing here to here. And the nice thing about that is if you have consistent widths for your actual runs, then you're going to get that same width in my automatic landing, or in this case, the manual landing that I put in. And now if we wanted to match the level below, I can simply put in 3. Just know, again, this is not code. Don't do this. We'll cover that in a separate video, but that's great. We're literally done with this. So now if we look at this in 3D, we can see that if I hide this there, because we don't need to see this there at all, we can see that this is perfectly stacking on top. It's looking correct, and I'm able to get from level 1 all the way up to 3. Now, this is something I don't condone doing, but when it comes to multi-story stairs, or not even multi-story, because we're going to save that for another video as well, but for stairs that you want to ultimately copy, what I can do is literally just take the whole stair. I can Control C, and I can paste this to a specific level. In this case, I want to take this stair up to level 3, so it goes up from 3 to 4. Just know that there's some things with that. So let's put it at 3. There we go. So now the thing to be aware of is, in this case, I have level 2 at 21 up to 30, so 9 feet, versus level 3 to level 4 is 10. So what do we need to do? Well, I need to actually edit this. And so I'm going to end up making another floor plan to do this. But what will happen is that I have to edit it. And so I don't necessarily like doing it that way if I have to go through this process. So basically, if the dimensions between levels, the distance between levels is the exact same, I'm totally for doing this. It makes so much sense because you did it right on one level and then just copy it up how many times that you need. That says nothing about a multi-story stair, but we'll get into that later. Okay, so with this, obviously what we're looking at here is the base level is 3, and then top level is 4, but also the top offset is -1. And why is that? Well, that is because it took the same desired stair height from the stair below being 9 feet, going from level 2 to 3 being 9 feet. It translated that up directly. So basically, it's just referring to the fact that, hey, this stair is 9 feet, not 10 feet. So what can we do? Well, I can come in here, and I probably need to add more. So before I add more, let's go ahead and change this top offset to 0. So we want the desired stair height to be 10, of course, because that is the distance between level 3 and 4. So then now we can see my desired number is 18 versus my actual number being 16. And we don't want that because we want them to match. We want this to actually meet at level 4. So I can do this a couple of different ways. I can just drag this second run out 2 more, which is totally what I would do. But if I want things to line up again, then I'd probably want to pull this back with a shape handle by 1 tread. And that lines everything up perfectly again. So basically, if I really want my landings to line up, which is kind of the theme that I'm going for, if we go back to 3D, my landings are all lined up, then that's totally great. I'm covering all of my distance between level 1 to 4, and with the result being that assuming the floors meet up, whatever, I have aligned everything that I need to with the landings. I've got all my stair runs meeting each level and things like that, even though I have different distances from one level to the next. Now, one final thing I'll show you is that on level 1, maybe I actually want this stair to be slightly different. Maybe we want a second landing for some reason. Don't know. Maybe you have to have it for code. Maybe you just want it for the way it looks. Maybe we want to line things up here this way and then come in here with a third landing and just draw this out here. It doesn't matter because what I'm going to do is we're going to line this up. So landing, boom. This looks awful, but what I want to do, of course, is align all of this together. So let's align this with that. Cool. Obviously, what looks weird is my run width being different. Let's go ahead and make this 4 feet so things line up a bit better. Cool. And then I can just simply determine what kind of dimension I want for my landing, which is cool. And so I can simply do this by dragging, pushing, pulling. I can probably want to dimension this so I have an idea of what I'm working with, whatever this dimension might be. It needs to be at least 4 feet, but in this case, maybe 6 feet looks better, feels better, something like this. And so now I still, once again, if we look at all these numbers, I'm going from 1 to 8 to 9, and then 16, 17, all the way up to 36. So I have my desired number, which is 36, and then my actual number, which is also 36. I can have as many stair runs as I want, with as many landings as I want, which is cool. Now, if I get all the way through here and realize, oh no, I didn't realize that the arrow is taking you up the stairs. I actually need it to flip. Well, I have a basic flip button there, which is fantastic. It literally flips everything. I get all of these numbers flipped. So now this is the bottom all the way up to the top. Really great stuff. So easy. I don't want to flip it, so I'm going to flip it back. Great. So that's good. So basically, I'm done. That is a general overview on how to basically model stairs. Obviously, we have these given rails that we're going to deal with later. If you did actually want to, you can select the rails that you want it to populate by default. If we just simply go into another stair, I can choose my railing. I can from default to a particular type of railing that you have in the project. Maybe this handrail rectangular. Obviously, we need a guardrail. Maybe that's guardrail rectangular, and I really want them on stringers because most of the time you're going to need that extra space. And if you're talking an egress stair, which we're typically going to be talking about and referring to in these videos. I put them on the stringers as opposed to the treads. And so clicking OK means that once I draw this stair, if let's say I draw this straight run stair, boom, it's going to put in this separate railing here, as opposed to that one being different. This one's just basic railing, a handrail rectangular, and this one actually has a guardrail with it too. Okay, so yeah, that will do it for the basics of modeling stairs in Revit. We will look at other types of stair modeling in Revit, as well as the documentation, the code, like tons of different things. So definitely be sure to stick around. There's a lot more stair activity to come. If you haven't learned something, please demolish that like button. It really helps me out a lot, because it tells me that, yeah, exactly that. You might have learned it, or that you just liked the video. Also, consider subscribing. That really helps me out a lot, and it tells me that you might like this kind of content. So I hope to see you in the next Revit video. Have a wonderful day, and thank you very much for watching.